The impasse between government and the medical practitioners, as we know, it has gone into week 3. The issues being raised by those who are up in arms, as we know them, are regarding their welfare, issues around their remunerations, and of course, issues around the deployment of medical interns that is part of their professional requirement. So we shall explore that and much more. How comes government, even when these issues continues to come, has not been able to find a long-lasting solution to some of these issues that the medical interns and other practitioners face? So that shall inform phase 1 of our conversation. Phase 2 shall be around, we know that the country has witnessed an unprecedented level of gun violence. From a private bodyguard shooting his principal to a blogger being assassinated in a very gruesome manner, to a businessman in town being killed in a very cruel and unprecedented way, to many other issues around gun violence. So we shall look at, how best can we be able to curb this sort of criminal tendencies that the country is that the country is witnessing in the most recent couple of days and weeks. And put all this into perspective is a panel of distinguished young people that is now my honor to introduce to you, our viewers. And in no particular order, the 87th Guild Speaker of the Makerere University Students Guild is Right Honorable Mucho Gatuya, joins us here as a panelist this afternoon. Micho, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Comrade. I am honored to be here.
How do you feel? Long time?
Long time, really. This has always been my space. I've missed it, but I'm grateful that I'm back here.
We are very happy to have you too.
Thank you.
All the way from Masaka City is a youth leader, precisely the Secretary for Finance of the Masaka City District, Masaka City Youth Council, to be precise. But also, he has been one of the frontline fighters in terms of putting government on its toes to ensure that the issues of medical interns and other practitioners is heard and addressed. The name is David Mujema. David, karibu.
Thank you so much, Comrade Chidega. Like Micho said, this is our space and we're glad being back here. And we greet all Ugandans in the name of God.
Yes, thank you. We are always very happy to have you guys.
Thank you.
Next to myself is Counsel Hilary Karuhanga. Hilary is a lawyer by profession, but also is pursuing his professional course at LDC. So very soon he will be an advocate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel. Karibu. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure. Greetings, viewers. And I am honored to be hosted.
We are honored to have you too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I hope it's going to be a really successful and effective discussion.
Yeah, we hope so too. David, for obvious reasons, I want to begin with you.
Okay.
I've seen you on TV, being carried onto these tracks, I think not once, not twice. And you're really been very vocal, regarding the issues of the medical practitioners. Just paint for us a picture of what exactly is happening.
Well, thank you so much, moderator Ndugu Chidega. One, what is happening is there's a standoff between government and the health workforce, especially the labor force. This is categorized in different phases, I can say. There's what we call the prospective interns. The prospective interns are interns who are yet to get the deployment and their contracts to go and serve their mandatory 1 year of internship. Intern statement, the intern word or phrase has been misconstrued by the public, so people keep thinking we are students. We are not. For God's sake, we are graduates with transcripts, left university long time ago, and we have to serve government this 1 year under supervision for these added skills. So we are not students. Two, that is why actually there are proposals to call them junior house officers. The second phase is for the senior house officers. These are people who have done a bachelor's in medicine and surgery, to be specific, and they've gone back for a master's in medicine and surgery to specialize in a specific field or specialty. For example, someone can go back to school to do a master's in medicine and surgery, to call MMed, and they specialize in pediatrics to treat the children, gynecology, orthopedics, neuro, psychiatry, dermatology. Having gone to school to do a bachelor's degree, at least I've done that now already. And if I want to focus on women, then I go and specialize in obstetrics and gynecology. If I want to specialize in the people that have mental health problems, I'll go and specialize in psychiatry, like that. So while they are studying their masters, M.Med, masters in medicine, they treat the people because they're already doctors at the first level, at least of a bachelor's degree. This group, sometimes some countries call them residents, especially the white countries, and then here we call them senior house officers. They are as well in an industrial action. Their issues, we are going to break them down. The third category is the medical officers special grade, who are, by the way, contesting this title as well. I'll tell you about the meeting that we had with the Prime Minister, and one of the contestations were, please stop calling us medical officers special grade, because the public actually does not even know. They think we are medical officers, like me, David, at bachelor's degree level in medicine and surgery. So they want to be called associate consultants. When you call them medical officers special grade, somehow their salary structure gets blurred in the, like blurring in the public service payment structures. These are people with a master's degree already. They've gone back to school, they've earned a master's degree, they've specialized, they are specialists. So they want to be called associate consultants. We shall break down the levels under which someone becomes a consultant. But at least the most basic is having a master's degree in medicine and surgery. You become a specialist, after which 3 years of experience, promotions come to the level of a consultant. But they are arguing that, at least among other things why they are part of the industrial action, mind you, they are also part of these 3 categories of people, part of the industrial action. So they want an increment of their salary, at least to the level of an associate consultant or a consultant. When the president in 2021 increased most of these health workers' pay, you find that specialists right now, the ones that are being termed as medical officers special grade, were given 6 million Uganda shillings. That is 400 higher than the medical officer at a bachelor's degree level. Remember, these are people who are already now specialists. They have the same academic qualification with a consultant, an assistant consultant who is earning 12 million Uganda shillings, and a senior consultant earning 13 million. So these people's argument is, one, change our name from medical officer special grade to an associate consultant. Two, why are we being paid half the people of our qualification are earning? The other people are earning 12 million, the associate consultants. The senior consultants are earning 13 million, these people are earning 6 million. So that is their argument and why they have gone now to the industrial action. For the senior house officers, they have not had pay for a whole 6 months, the first years. These people who are doing a master's, at least in public universities, in Makerere, in Kabale, in Usitema, most of them are doing this masters in private universities, KIU, Zambia, but at least these ones, government never committed to do what? To pay them. But for the residents or senior house officers that government committed to pay, the first years had not had their pay for the first 6 months. Then other years, including year 2 and year 3, because of most of these masters, degrees, they run up to 3 years. Some of which are exceptional, like maybe orthopedics can run up to 4 years, neuro sometimes up to more 6-7 years. So for these ones, they are saying, please pay us. We are doctors already. We came back to do our masters. It wasn't a crime. Government committed that at least we shall be taking home 2.5 million as an allowance, because we wake up and do most of this work alongside the interns.
So the biggest issue being raised by those who are up in arms is the issue of payment and the issue of remuneration.
Payment, remuneration, and then is it called nomenclature? The naming of the specialists.
Naming.
They are saying, no, we are not supposed to be called medical officer special grade. We are specialists already, but we are supposed to be called associate consultant. But for the interns, the first category where I fall, the prospective interns, they want to be deployed. One.
Okay, just hold it right there.
Yes.
Ndugu Micho, I want to bring you in. Micho, when my brother here gets done with his LDC, he will be required to do what they call clerkship. Clerkship is, I think, if you put it in the same jargon as them, it is their internship, sort of. Engineers who finish their course also at some point are required to do internship. Now, these other professions are not being paid, neither by government nor by those who they are working for. And we have never seen them going up in arms demanding for payment. Now, the medical interns, and we all know how important they are to the medical sector. Should they not be paid, then the country finds itself dealing with the crisis. So my question is, is this sort of an animal farm whatever situation? Because why should one profession demand that they're paid while doing the internship, whereas others don't demand for the same?
Well, thank you, comrade. I think I'll start by appreciating comrade David, who has put up a good fight. It takes a good leader who knows what is supposed to be done to do what they have done, to stand against all the odds and maintain this demonstration, their peaceful demonstration for all this long. I think you pose a very critical question that everyone would ask: why medical students claiming for pay, yet others are not claiming for pay? I also want to believe they also do internship while they're doing their 5-year course. There are things they do like cobas. They do their interns as they are structured to be doing them. But then I also know that this is something that has been said for a long time, and I hope it's not done only in Uganda. Medical interns are paid elsewhere, even in other countries. The reason of the payment is that we do not have enough capacity, enough resource, enough manpower in these hospitals that these doctors can be able to sustain the numbers of patients in the hospitals. Actually, it is the recognition that these medical interns actually do the actual work. The senior officers, their role is just to sit and maybe become consultants. But these people, these medical interns actually find them doing their hands-on job. So the issue with giving them that enticement is just as a motivation. Actually, when you find the salary they are given, it is not salary.
It's an allowance.
It is an allowance.
Yes.
To help you pay where you're sleeping, to help you get what to eat. Because these people are posted deep down in Kapchora, Guru. You find someone coming from Masaka, and he's taken to Guru.
I could be in Guru tomorrow.
To the deepest village of Guru. He has nowhere to stay. He has no relative to talk to. He has nowhere to eat from.
I don't
All
know
he
the
has
language.
to do, he does not know the language. All he has to do is get somewhere to lay his head and get somewhere to eat a commando, because that's what the money does.
And you get work.
And you get to work. So literally it is not salary. It is just upkeep to help them move. But you see, the biggest problem with not paying these people is that you're opening, actually you're doing more harm than good. Why? I'm just looking at Comrade David, who has been posted to Gulu. He has nothing to eat. He has no rent to pay. And he's in the hospital. He has 2 patients. One patient is saying, treat me, I'm giving you maybe 100,000.
That's true.
As your tip. Another patient is saying, this is a government hospital. I'm not supposed to give any tip. What do you expect? Someone who has slept hungry, someone who has nowhere to sleep at that moment to do. Actually, it may be another form of increasing corruption within the health sector. And as a country, we can soulfully be comfortable maybe with corruption elsewhere. But corruption in the health sector is catastrophic. There is nowhere in this world where you can accept such a thing to happen. So I am thinking that the person who thought about this, or the team that thought about this earlier, had clear reasons as to why these people should be paid, and they were clearly defined. So it was about government laying down reasons as to why they do not want to pay them, but not saying that they don't have money, because they can prioritize the funds to where they're supposed to go. But you have to restructure and make clear consultations. This is what we always advise the administrators, that actually the people seated in the boardroom are not the ones supposed to make the rules alone, but get the people that are directly affected by what you want to drive as a policy. Let them be involved. Listen to their struggles. So me, as an individual, as a student leader, I would strongly advise that this allowance is maintained. It is not salary as people perceive it to be.
Okay, thank you. Council,
Yes,
still, the
please.
same question I asked Ndugu Micho, I'll pose it to you. Is there some sort of selective application of how should I call it? Selective application of remuneration in this case, that you are bound to do your internship, sorry, your clerkship, you know, I think in a few months or so,
Oh, yeah.
and you don't expect government to pay you, but at the same time, I believe you will be offering a service to the country.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. Is there some selective and discriminatory approach towards this kind of, payments?
Okay, I wouldn't want to take that direction. Like my colleagues have really ably submitted on that point. We are dealing with doctors. And before we take forth this conversation, we need to first know these people. The population of Uganda is over 24 million and above people.
45 million.
45 and above. The population of doctors, over 2,000 or something, or 2 million. So the ratio of a doctor to a patient is one doctor handling 1,000.
No, it's 1 to 25,000 actually.
1 to 25,000, you can imagine. And now, these who are
But
coming
there's a
in
ratio
as
that is supposed
internees,
Yeah, but the WHO says that one doctor should handle less than 1,000, but in Uganda, one handles 25,000.
25,000. Like you can see that. Now, this informs you of what kind of labor, what kind of field these guys are coming to. Much as they are coming in the name of internees as doing their internship, which is right, but these guys are actually doing the actual work. They are qualified, and there is no internship dealing with someone's life. These guys are dealing with people's lives. Any slight mistake, someone's life is gone. So they have gone through the training sufficient enough to do the actual work of a doctor to a patient. They are required to provide that service. You understand? And now, that's exactly what they do. And they deserve a pay for that. I mean, he already told you they have a life to live. Some of them are posted here and there and there. It is not discrimination. Me, as a law student, as a lawyer, I am looking forward to doing my clerkship, for example. But this is more different from a medical doctor who is going to be handing on people's lives daily. Actually, these are the people that do the most of the work in these hospitals. Yes, they do a lot of the work, even more than those consultants. You've heard him say they are contesting about their names to be called
Associate consultant.
associate consultants. Who is a consultant? Someone to go to, someone to give direction, someone to just come in once a week
Guidance.
to guide you. But who is being guided? These are the guys. So these are the doctors. These are the people that are supposed to be paid. The other ones just give guidance. They just go around. And there is no way this can be practical. And you expect them to go in a field, appear, handle all that number of people without anything. Really, it is impractical. And I would also like to add that I don't know why this has been a continuous challenge. This has been since time immemorial. 2000, 2005, we hear doctors strike. 2005, doctors strike. 2010, 2015, 2017, 2023, the guys are striking. What is so difficult about sitting down as a government and say, you know what, these are our people. They are going through ABCD. We actually need them the most. They are handling the bigger labor. Okay, 2,000 people, 2,500 people being handled by one person. And these people have different conditions. Any critical mistake, anything, someone is gone. You understand? I think the government has a little bit erred, much as we have had debates going on, cabinet sitting, and today the president is saying, okay, let them be paid. But it's not even enough to say that let them be paid. That's just by word of mouth. And even after that, there is a bureaucracy for these guys to receive that pay. You find that the government might sit and say, okay, let interns be paid, like the decision that was made yesterday in the cabinet. But you know what? For him to access that money and put it in his pocket and pay his rent and look after his family, he also needs someone to know him. So he needs someone to help him earn his allowance, the one he has worked for, the one he has, toiled for, the one that is giving him. So even when the salaries appear, even when these allowances appear, even when the president gives a directive and say, you know what, you pay these guys, okay? It is even a process. They are going to generate a list of how many names, and you will find that out of 1,000 internees, only 500 are on the list, and the other 500 are not on the list. And now that is going to be another strike. What is going on? I think maybe to conclude on this matter, the matter has been kind of politicized. There is nothing. Economics has nothing to do with medical assistance and all that. We are mixing economics, the state of country's economic state, and using it to define or to say it is the reason as to why these medical doctors are not paid. There is no money. The country is poor. You understand? But the two are different. The country's economic state, you cannot say we are not going to pay you because the country does not have money. But we see money in other sectors being dashed here and there and there. I think it's a matter of priority. It's a matter of knowing that, you know what, this is the best. This is something that is priority, something that should come first. And these guys should receive this. And it shouldn't be like, something like an achievement that government has finally released, has finally said yes, and it is something like a big achievement. It is a responsibility. Government ought to pay this. It is not helping them,
So government is sort of duty bound.
It is duty bound to do this because these are servants of the government.
Okay.
Yes.
I think you've made a very brilliant point. David, let us just evaluate the context of your strike.
Okay.
And I will borrow the synopsis of Martin Jr. Luther King, who organized in his time one of the most successful civil rights movements. And Martin Luther King said that for you to organize a successful strike, you must meet certain, you must pass certain tests. One of which is you must prove a grievance. And I think you pass that checkbox. You have proved that indeed you are aggrieved. But he said that also you must prove that you have made efforts to engage the duty bearers. And in this case, it would be the ministry and people who are supposed to respond to this concern. So the question is, before you went to the streets to demonstrate, is there evidence that you try to engage, you try to dialogue, you try to petition the duty bearers so that your concerns are addressed before you put the country in this sort of confusion?
Thank you so much. Last year in April, the first group of medical students, the prospective interns, got done with medical school. Last year in April, another set got done around June. Another set, which I am part of, I got done with medical school on 17th November last year. From that time, time immemorial, internship used to get done every October of the year you accomplish your medical school. Then that October of that year, you start internship. That said, in other countries, it's continuous. Anytime someone gets done, they just join. For example, in Rwanda. Now, It was shifted due to COVID to October, rather to April, meaning April of this year, we had to start internship because we all had got done with medical school. But remember the first set, I know pharmacists from Kampala International University who got done with medical school in April last year. So we saw notice from the government of Uganda because the group that is done with their internship finished on 1st April this year. That is the group headed by Musa Lumumba and his team. So when they got done, of course, it was automatic. We were expecting because we had submitted all our universities, our medical, schools. They had submitted all our academic results to respective councils because internship involves degree pharmacists, degree midwives, degree nurses, degree dentists, or dental surgeons, and degree medicine and surgery. So they collect all your academic documents and then they submit them to your respective councils. For example, Uganda Medical and Dental Practitioners Council. For example, Pharmaceutical Society of Uganda. For example, Ugandan Nursing and Midwives Council. So having done that, and the current cohort of interns, they got done on 1st April. That means by 3rd April, we were supposed to enroll to start our year of internship. So we didn't start. And, we raised eyebrows. We're like, why aren't we starting? We're supposed to be, now that the councils have given us the provisional licenses, we're expecting to have the contracts very soon. And then we go and do the year of internship under supervision by government consultants and specialists. That said, we waited for the deployment letter by the Director General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Henry Mwebesa. It didn't come on time. Then we wrote to them as a prospective internship group or cohort, and they took time to respond, after which they released a statement that said to the hospital directors who are expecting interns to be, I'm speaking about 1,901 prospective interns, 1901. So they communicated to the hospital directors of all these hospitals. I'm speaking about 58 general and regional referrals as a whole. Some of these hospitals where we practice from are general hospitals at the district level, Mityana, Chiriandongo, etc. The rest are referrals at the level of regional and national. We all over Chirudu, Kawempe, even the private hospitals, Mengo, Rubaga, Nsambia. So the letter from the Ministry of Health through Dr. Mwebesa said, give us 2 weeks, we are holding a consultative. We are holding consultations to see how best we can deploy you people. After the 2 weeks of April had elapsed, on 3rd we didn't get deployed, 2 weeks passed, nothing came through. And then we had to sit as prospective interns. We even actually didn't have a leadership because our leadership bases on the list that is posted. That is when we can approve that someone, this is when we can prove that someone actually is an intern when you're shortlisted. So after all that time, the ministry didn't communicate whatsoever. So we wrote to the president. We delivered, personally, I delivered that letter to the president's office at Parliament. We wrote to the Prime Minister, we wrote to the Speaker of Parliament, we wrote to the Ministry of Health, all those ministries concerned. We didn't have communication. We have proof of all those letters. I'll show them to you. After some time, we did get the communication after a week or so. We called for a press conference. We said, under Uganda Medical Association, because this is a body that takes now all of us, headed by Dr. Naku, Njolova, Dr. Swat's secretary. So we called for a meeting and we said, please deploy interns. Hospitals don't have this labor force because we constitute 70% of the work done at both general and regional referral hospitals. 70% work. Now, Uganda Medical Association was concerned. The cohort that got done left the hospitals. 70% work is done by the interns. How come interns are not yet deployed? 3 weeks in April down the road, who is taking care of the patients out there? Yeah. So when we didn't get our voices, of course, we called for a press conference and then police came. I don't know, for some reason. So we marched peacefully. Ours is a peaceful protest. We're not going to fight with police. I remember marching, showing our dissatisfaction, calling government that, please, government, we deposited those letters. We need an answer. Every one of you guys is quiet on us. We want to go to work. Our parents signed us off. A lot of time is being wasted. Some people took heavy loans. They should be paying back. For example, loan scheme, Higher Education Students Financing Board gives you a grace period of 1 year for you to start paying government's money back. So people are getting anxious and unsettled. So we tried to get that, it is in our right to peacefully protest. Yes. But I think here police is political or paranoid or something like that. They found us at Galloway, Mulago, and they sprayed pepper spray in my eyes and other colleagues. Shamim Nambasa, Arnold Sali, we were arrested for peacefully marching to show our dissatisfaction. So to answer your question, we had tagged government. We had brought to government officially under Uganda Medical Association, even our body and different bodies. Imagine it is the same government under Uganda Medical and Dental Practitioners Council that even gave us the provisional licenses that we must have before we touch patients. We must sign the contracts. So when we came forward, arrested and all that, that is the first time we started getting a statement from government that, look, we don't have the money to deploy you, the interns. This statement was spoken by Dr. Ruth Acheng, our main Minister for Health, at the floor of Parliament. She said, I only have 8 billion. Do you know how much money we want as interns to run through a year? 54 billion plus. These SHOs need about 25 billion. Specialists need about 21 billion to sort their issues. Let's focus on the interns. Having said that, it just made matters worse. That now whose business is it to look for money to deploy interns? Mind you, we cannot practice anywhere unless we go through this first year of internship, this 1 year of internship. Government cannot give you a practicing license unless it is sure that you're going through internship. Unless you're not going to practice medicine clinically. Someone can say, me, I want to be a DJ, a musician, I got done with my medicine, like lawyers cannot practice without LDC. Also, as we cannot practice without this year of internship. So that said, Dr. Ruth Acheng says she doesn't have money. Then we petition the Speaker of Parliament. The second strike, now we come back. We say, no, if Acheng says he doesn't have money, is it our business to look for this money? For us, we want to get deployed, get done with you here. You give us our licenses. We go and practice out there in the world. We can go outside this country. We can go. But again, we don't want even to go outside this country. We want to stay and pay back. Some of us, taxpayers, have invested in us. UPE, USE, loan schemes, state house scholarship, NGOs, well-wishers, churches, mosques. We want to treat our people because there's a very big gap. Like I told you, the ratio of a doctor to patients in Uganda, it is 1 to 25,000 patients you see as a doctor a year. Contrary to what the WHO says, one doctor has to see at least less than 1,000 patients. Actually, well-to-do countries, a doctor is supposed to see 600 patients. Here in Uganda, you're seeing 25 patients, which work is done mainly by interns. I'm telling you, you can leave this place and go to Kawempe and see what is happening right now. Without interns, without SHOs, you'll find 1 or 2 SHOs providing emergencies. A mother has come with an ectopic, a ruptured uterus. Someone has come with a brain tumor, rather a traumatic brain injury and all that. It is emergencies because these people have laid down the tools in the industrial action. They are giving only emergencies. So what is happening on the wards? So the second strike, we get arrested once again, but police carries us to the Speaker. We didn't find her there. We give the petition to Solomon Sirwani, I think he's a Commissioner of Parliament. And then we wait for the information feedback. No one is saying anything. We go back for the third strike. This time round, we successfully meet the Speaker of Parliament and hand her over our petition to her. And then this is at the point the Speaker instructs the Committee of Health in Parliament, chaired by Dr. Charles Ayume, to handle our issues, who was not there. So it was chaired by Dr. Civic. So I attended these 2 committees of Parliament, and Parliament was straightforward. We asked the Finance Minister, he was there, the Minister of Health was there. We asked them, where is the problem? Health says we want the money. We do not have the money to deploy interns. We asked Finance. Minister Msasi was there. He says the country was faced by a budgetary constraint. COVID, Ukraine. I hear Putin went and started his land grabbing spree in Ukraine, and for that reason, interns cannot be deployed. Of course, I quote him saying the country faces a budget constraint, and interns' money is under what we call subventions. And he explains further that if the country is constrained budget-wise, it is the subventions that can be gotten away with, and the country focuses on priority. So at this point, Dr. Henry Mwevesa, Director, Clinical Health Services in the ministry, is summoned in Parliament. What role does an intern play in the health sector? He says, because the country cannot have capacity to deploy medical officers and general practitioners to cover these general hospitals and referral hospitals and national referrals, we rely on these interns. While we call them to confirm their expertise under the supervision of government for this year, but at least we also rely on their labor. They are doing nearly 70% of all the work. So these people are not only going through a supervised training, these people are indeed labor. At that point, the Committee of Parliament understood that an intern is not only coming here for training, supervised training. You know, you could be doing scissors while in medical school. I start going clinical wise or visiting the hospital when I'm in medical school in third year. So some of us come to even train in intern when I can do the scissors, I can do the IO, I can do the IO, I mean intestinal obstruction, open, close, remove, you know, I can do most of these things. But government says, no, we have to supervise you for this 1 year. So at that point, Dr. Mwebesa confirms through the ministry and the Ministry of Health that these people are important, we can't do away with. So the battle for looking for money begins. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Finance says, we don't have the money. And this time around, I think even your numbers are escalating. But the population of Uganda is increasing. There's privatization, so a lot of medical schools are coming through as long as they are chartered and they are approved by the National Council for Higher Education. All these are acts of parliament. So you cannot punish me when you're opening medical schools, numbers are increasing. You have the professors go and monitor and ensure quality. It is not my business that numbers are increasing. So therefore, I won't go for internship. Ministry says we are not giving you money. Health says we cannot send you to work. By the way, at some point we thought that health people were our enemies. Now they come out and say, do you want us to deploy you without commitment that you get paid? We went back and told our people, look, guys, we cannot go and get deployed without being paid. How will you survive? Let me tell you, Ndugu Chidega. I come from Masaka. I told this to the Prime Minister in a strategic meeting we had. I come from Masaka. And then for some reason, that list is very random. It lands me in Moroto. I don't know the language. Like Ndugu Micho said, I don't know anyone there. But I have to eat, I have to drink, I need power, I need transport to take me. But government says there is no money and we are going to scrap off the allowance of interns. Mind you, internship is as old as medicine itself. Anywhere in the world, no country does not pay interns. So I'm telling you all this to answer your question that is there evidence of engagement from the parliament to the president to the prime minister to everyone to the councils to the associations and unions.
So we can say with confidence that there's been extensive engagement.
A lot of it. Now,
with the duty bearers.
Yes, in 1 minute. When we left that place, the parliament, the committee made recommendations that of all money that you want to remove, don't touch allowances or interns. Please make sure their money, revise that budget. Up to yesterday, the Minister of Finance was saying no, until we wait for them. Even when we met the Prime Minister, she said, look, you guys, we don't have the money, so we are going to have to ask the Prime Minister, how do you expect me to survive that way? Do you want me to sleep in a slum? The former president of Uganda Medical Association, Professor Idro said, is a pediatrician, said, the time I was the president of Uganda Medical, an intern doctor was raped. She was sleeping in a slum. And at that time, this money was there, but it was not coming on time. So she couldn't sustain all these problems. Some of these people are married, they have children, they have people spending in medical school 5 to 6 years. They are responsible people. So you want this person, the ambulance brings a patient who is dying, person is sleeping in a slum, is living helpless at 2. Your hospitals don't have accommodation to keep these people who are working at night. I work between 18 to 24 hours. An intern is a person who works more than anyone you can ever imagine. You don't sleep, you don't eat, you don't do nothing on you. You work non-stop. Considering health risks that come through. COVID comes, hits interns. Ebola comes, hits interns. Government abandons you. It is your fellows that have to solicit some money on you. You have family, you have responsibilities. So as the Prime Minister, how do you expect me to survive in Moroto for a whole year without this token of appreciation on which I have to buy food, I have to buy power, I have to put on a cloth? My parents signed me off a whole 9 months ago. They know I have a transcript, so I have to survive on my own. So this is the mind behind this token of appreciation. The president put at 2.5 million for a doctor, and for the nurses, I think 1 point something, and pharmacists, 2 million. So at this point, the Prime Minister told us, we don't have that money. And we said again, no, this is impossible.
Okay, fair enough. Ndugumicho, I think it was Hillary who mentioned the politics of these strikes and demonstrations. And I think not so long ago, sometime last year, we saw Dr. Samuel Oledo, who led a team of medical practitioners, and they knelt before the president and said, Jose, all those things that they said. So has professional institutions like the Medical Association been infiltrated by politics? And at times, even these demonstrations could be inspired by politics.
I think...
because if you have someone who can kneel down in their lab coat, kneel down and say, the president, please, Tova Kumain and all those things.
I think being a politician and having participated in politics and seeing how politics runs, it is crystal clear by this time that at least everything rotates around politics. politics is everywhere. You may even find that in this show, the discussion is based on the politics. The submission is based on the politics. Mujama may not say something based on his political interests. I may not submit about something based on the political interests. So we cannot rule out the fact that even interns, maybe they might have been influenced by the politics. But regardless of the politics being, maybe politics might be behind, but you cannot lose the gist of the matter, that this is supposed to be done. About the incident that happened last year by the head of the medical, they were medical interns.
Were they interns or the medical association?
Medical association, but it was the leadership of medical practitioners.
I have a different
I
story.
think that goes back to the type of leaders that we choose, the type of leaders that we elect into these offices. What do they have to offer? And as a leader, what action do you have to go to? I subscribe to the NRM party, but I don't subscribe to the ideology of saying that even when something is wrong, we must have to support it. As a medical practitioner, there is no reason why you would kneel down when you've not been paid yet. As head of the medical association, there is no reason why you need to kneel down before the president when you know that you have a backlog of students who completed their studies in April and they have not been deployed yet. And for you saying Tova Kumein, yes, we may want the president to stay, but there are things we need to address to him. There are rare cases where you find such opportunities to address the president, address the minister. So as a leader, how do you use them? You're using them for praises, yet that was a platform to actually address the real concerns of medical practitioners. I do not agree to what they did. I think that was a platform to address things that are actually more pressing to the medical personnel than just showering praises. I do not do medicine, but at least the course I do is quite related. I do biomedical laboratory technology. So I at least know what is in the health field. I can attest that even when I support this government, but the health field is not doing anywhere better. It is worse. When you go to those hospitals and you find patients sleeping down
on the cement.
On the cement. When you move to the casualty ward of Murago, you cry. You just go back to church and ask God never to get an accident.
It is easier to die from there than from your home.
Because you'll not even be able to access the word.
That's true.
You'll not be able to access the word. They will bring you, carry from wherever they have got you, maybe where you have got the accident from. They will drop you at the doorway at the entrance of
the emergency.
At the emergency, and you will be left there. Why would not have doctors who are motivated to do such? When you interact with people who give out loans within universities, at least within Makerere University, I can attest to that. We have people who give out loans, but they're telling you these students got loans thinking they are going to be deployed very, very soon.
That's true.
But then the loans are on their necks. They do not have anything to pay. So regardless of whether the politics is involved, you cannot rule out the fact that the people leading strikes, some of them are NRM.
That's true.
The Mujamas are NRM.
That's
they are not opposition.
Very true.
I've seen very many faces right from opposition and NRM. I think it is just an agreement by all parties that this is a general concern. That they need this to happen, and they should activate it. I think government, it is high time they prioritize on what they committed to do. If you committed that these medical interns should be paid, they should be paid. Just 1 year ago, the president was saying they need an increment.
Yeah, and he effected it.
And he actually ordered for that increment. By the time a president like Yoweri Kaguta Museveni saying that they need an increment, meaning he has recognized the importance of the efforts of these interns. So within a period of just months, you cannot shift the discussion to now
Totally
no,
not pay at
totally
all.
not paying before even effect the increment that the president had ordered to be paid. So I think, regardless of the politics, let's not lose the focus here. Let government prioritize on things. We have students who are striking about government allowances. We have students striking about interns. You see, we may not be medical interns, but we are in positions where we are affected. I cannot go to class when they have arrested 20 students at CPS. I cannot move to university management to discuss students' university IDs and tuition what when we have 30 students who have been arrested in cells. So what we need to recognize here is that this is a fight for everyone. Whether you're concerned or not, this is your brother, this is your sister. Tomorrow you get sick and you'll find these people in hospital. So I think we just need to come out as a country and engage the necessary forces that are needed to find this handled. And we recognize the efforts of this, because you realize that the cohort that graduated with these medical interns, the pre-interns that are not yet deployed, some of them are working. Someone who did computer science, someone who did software engineering, someone who did biomedical technology.
Married, rich, happy.
They are employed. They are getting their salary. But you see, this is government is saying no. For you, we still need you, because in the curriculum of medicine, there's no that you maybe medical internship may not be required, because they don't even go and learn. They go and work.
You go and work.
They not go to study. They go and work. I don't think they go into classes. I don't think they get trained. They actually go and
supervised.
They are only supervised. So I think, imagine someone has spent a year, graduated in April. His colleagues are working. His or her colleagues are already in field. He's seated for a whole year. Comrade Moses,
How do you compensate that?
how do you think they are surviving?
That's a good question. And Council Hillary here, I want to just draw to your attention that if you go to Kenya's politics, the name Francis Atwoli rings a very loud bell.
Sure.
Francis Atwoli is the head of the labor union. If I have to come back to this scenario, Uganda Medical Association, the Federation of Uganda Medical Interns, and all these sort of institutions, if I'm to look at them as labor unions or trade unions, they could then fit into what the kind of work that Francis Atwoli does in Kenya.
Oh, yeah.
So with the way government is beginning to heed to the concerns and issues being raised by these institutions, is it a sign to demonstrate that our labor unions are beginning to organize better and are beginning to grow and are beginning to have capacity to perhaps hold duty bearers accountable?
Thank you so much. I will refer to another fight that was going on in 2017, where Uganda Medical Association approached the Minister of Health, Dr. Ruth Acheng. And I remember vividly the Attorney General then advised that Uganda Medical Association does not have the capacity to negotiate with the government. They actually said it is the trade unions that actually are in position to negotiate with us. So for you, you just go through your trade unions and all this, but we are not dealing with you. And the question here was, are these people airing out views that are understandable by the government? Is it about the chronology of who complains and who should negotiate and all that? The issue remains one. Okay? What is the problem? And whoever airs it out, it should land clearly in the ears of the government, and they should be able to get the solution. Talking about the question of labor unions and all that, these organizations, these gatherings, associations, they have done whatever they do. These are the people. They have complained, they have played their role, they have talked. But everything is quiet. Government is quiet about it. They hear it, they gather meetings, they negotiate. They see, we don't have money. These are the answers. We don't have money. We are going to think about it. And if the worst comes to the worst, and maybe it goes up to the president, and you hear saying that, okay, next year, it's okay, let them do this. But you still hear the same story coming up and coming up and coming up. I think the question we need to ask here is, do we really need doctors, these internees? We already see the need, the urgent need. We already saw the ratio of one doctor to 2,500 patients, okay? And now the government tells you, we don't have money for these people. Or this cannot be blood or gotten lost or diluted in the processes of who to negotiate and who to come to the government and who to air this out. People are here, the right people. They are making movements, they are making, demonstrations, peaceful demonstrations to the same effect. And to me, it's not about the government does not have the money. The government actually has the money. It's about a matter of how to allocate this money to a priority. The government grasping the need of, or the priority of how these people are, how needed they are. And then they can decide, okay, is it worth paying them? Is it worth employing them? Is it worth deploying them in the field? Okay? And that aside, the issue as to whether the trade unions, whether the labor unions, whether they are doing their job as the Kenyans are doing, that is not a question of fact in Uganda. There is nothing that has not been aired out in as far as these disputes are concerned. There is no better conversation or no one who is going to appear in a particular manner or form that they're going to air anything different from what has been already aired out by the government. The problem is ascertained. The problem is known. The solution is available. What the government should look into is not who to come to me, who to approach me. It is what is the solution. How do we get to the solution? And this is going to be, free out of the hook, and we will never hear these people on the streets again.
Well, we are due for a short commercial break, but I think this is so far very interesting. And as we come back from the break, we shall be looking forward to proposing long-lasting solutions towards this continued conflict between government and medical practitioners. Stay with us and see you shortly after this.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
We'll be back from that short commercial or tea break, if you may call it. We are being joined by Brendan Katushabe. Brendan is a lawyer I mean, she has finished her law school, but also she's the team lead over Uganda. Is that correct?
Own Your Future Campus Initiative.
Sorry?
Own Your Future
Own
Campus
Your Future
Initiative.
Campus Initiative. Is it the same as Uganda?
Uganda is my name.
Yeah, but we are happy to have you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Well, you found us trying to discuss and evaluate this whole, medical interns, medical specialists, and things like that, and they're up in arms, and just your own perspective and context about what is going on.
Well, thank you so much, Moses. I think personally, what is important in this is for us to understand that government has a very big obligation if it comes to making sure that there is a right to health enjoyed by everyone in the country. Intern striking is one way of them showing that we've actually tried to raise our voices, but nothing has been, done. Because this is not the first time for us to see them strike. They have been striking a couple of times. And, on several occasions, we've seen the president coming out to, speak and show us that there is a solution. But then, if we see them striking again, it means something is lacking somewhere. We would also ask ourselves, do these interns play a role or we don't need them? Yeah, and then the question is, do we need the interns or we don't need them? So we surely need the interns. I think they're playing a very good role. And this is like trying to make sure that they help the government in its obligation of providing good health, services to the citizens. Yeah. Well, there's a time when the president came out and said scientists should be paid much more, meaning that these people are playing a very vital role if it comes to our health. Yeah. It's very absurd for you to go to the hospital and then you see mothers, at the time I went to Kawempe Hospital and I found mothers outside, like in pain. And I've personally been doing health under law. So when I was there to kind of do my research, I talked to a young mother who told me that I've just given birth to my baby, but the baby passed on a few minutes just because I was pushed off the bed because someone else was occupying it. And I was worked on by, nurses who were dissatisfied. So I think these nurses came in with their issues, maybe they have not been paid or they are lacking out something. And then they have no option because the moment you do not give them what they need, trust me, they will not give out good services or quality work. And what is the state of the country if we do not have good health services? Everyone is all our lives are in the hands of the medical workers. Yeah. So I feel like them striking is because actually a right to strike is provided for under Article 40 of the Constitution. And it is only limited to people in essential services like transportation, security, and doctors. So for them, what they do is essential work, meaning that they should be prioritized if it comes to such things. You would ask yourself, we have many MPs in parliament, right? And how much are they being paid on a monthly basis? Have you guys ever had any MP come out to strike that have not received my monthly allowance? And if it comes to them maybe traveling outside the country, those, allowances they are given per diem and all that. And then why is it so hard for these interns to be paid and medical workers if we have over 400 seats in parliament and you've never had those people coming out to strike? It's not just a question of government, but I think even our leaders, when they go in parliament and see, they should not only talk about things that concern them. They should be able to raise these issues. Because I am sure that is why we are seeing most of these members of parliament or first-class people moving out of the country to get services because they think what is in their country has actually failed. And I think I'm not saying there is a lot of money or enough money, but at least money is there that can compensate these guys. So I think them coming out to strike, I'm not saying it is okay for them to strike, but it is their right if they're working under unfavorable conditions. It is their right to come out and express their dissatisfaction because maybe the people in power have failed to, realize that or give them what they want. So what is left for them is to strike. I think government should be having a list of, priorities, especially in essential services, and they first work on those. If it means there is a very hard question or there is a very hard suggestion that I've had on several spaces, people claiming that, you see, if money is not there, maybe to compensate medical workers, how about we cut off payment of maybe parliamentarians, and we cover up or compensate for people who are in essential services? But do you think any MP would sacrifice their allowances or, salaries to cover up or compensate for doctors' allowances or, interns? So I think it's a very serious question that needs to be attended to, actually, very much, because interns are playing a very big role. They are not in the hospitals to play around or just, do research and go back and sit. They are working on lives of people. They're working on lives of people. You'll see a doctor come, then after the doctor maybe looking at your condition and all that, he will leave you in the hands of an intern and tell you maybe this is going to this maybe this nurse or this young person is going to be coming through to maybe inject you or give you all those other doses. Yeah. So what if the person is dissatisfied and then they don't turn up and you miss out on a dosage? Or what if they actually turn up and then they don't give you what you're supposed to get? Yeah. So a lot of things have been complained about in this country, but then at this point, I don't think this should be something coming back again. We've seen these associations get together to complain about these things. We have seen a number of cases where government is trying to address the issue of medical practitioners not being paid and all that. I think this should not be something that is coming back right now. If it is coming back, then something is failing, and that has to be addressed with immediate effect. Yeah, so I personally support them striking because it is actually their right to strike. Otherwise, if they have talked and they have not been addressed, then what should they do now? Yes.
All right. Well, our time is fast spent. We need to put this matter to bed. So I'll just pick your recommendations. What you think really should be part of the discussion moving forward? How best can we find a long-lasting solution? And I'll just begin with you, David, as I come towards here. Then you can shift gears to a different discussion.
Thank you. When we had a consultative meeting between the Ministry of Health, all those stakeholders, public service, health, finance, and all that, before the Prime Minister, we came to a conclusion that medical training needs to be regulated. Ministry of Health and National Council for Education, they have to regulate admission, regulate the exit. And some of the proposals were putting internship back to the 5-year course study. In other words, by the time someone gets done with their medical school, the 5 years, they are done with internship as well. Something what we feel is not okay. But what I'm in support of is regulating the admission, because we're having a lot of medical schools cropping up, producing very many numbers that are worrying government. So finance is complaining that it cannot manage the numbers. However, that also is not absolutely the solution. Why? Because Uganda Medical Association met the president of this country, and the president said, how many doctors do we have? And we have 8,000 doctors alone, not pharmacists, nurses, doctors alone. The president says, no, this country needs 80,000. So we can appreciate that as long as they are certified, they are chartered, but through the 5-year course plan, the quality also, we must focus on this quality. So checking how we admit and how we produce out there, because it's education that admits, and then powers in the Ministry of Health, which sometimes fidgets, submits these numbers and finance cannot handle. So the planning should come on board. 2, the internship policy has not been finalized, and this covers the interns and then the senior house officers, call them residents or SHOs. So we want that policy out. At least we shall be guided that this is not something that we shall keep playing around with. Like the comrade council said, that we are striking all the time. We complain this year. We get a painkiller we treat a symptom, not the etiology, not the statement problem. You get, and then again we shall. Now you can imagine the president has passed. By the way, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, we are so grateful. Yesterday the cabinet sat. Allow me to say this, and the position of the cabinet was interns' money should not be scrapped. it should stay and finance should look for that money. Meanwhile, all these strikes you're seeing, or peaceful demonstrations, were intending to at least get the commitment by the cabinet, or at least from the president, because all other avenues had closed and then we didn't have an answer. So the president, according to those who attended cabinet yesterday, even Chris Mariomos has hinted on it on TV that yes, cabinet has instructed that that money is reinstated or finance looks for it, it will not be scrapped. So we are grateful to His Excellency, the President, and we are sure that he really understands our plight. But also, the lawmakers, the legislative arm of government, should have this policy as quick as yesterday, so that we understand that it is not something we can always handle out of impulse, firefighting. Interns on streets, what do? We remove them, we give them money, how much money, we reduce it, we scrap it off. Maybe, okay, now we run to the president. We cause chaos and then go to the president. People are beaten, paper sprayed, tear gassed, fingerprinted in the criminal data system. All that for what? As though the country doesn't have lawmakers to say this is signed, stamped, sealed, and done. People should never come back for the same business over and over again. We are agitating Ugandans. So at least I think the policy will help us. Regulating admission and exit will help us. And also improving. You see, Ndugu, government is going to give us that allowance, God willing. But then what's the plan of going to those hospitals and we don't have sundries, we don't have gloves, we don't have sutures, we don't have medicines are not there. Again, doctors are going to be found seated, not doing anything. We will have detoothed Ugandans. We would have cheated Ugandans. So also the Ministry of Health should take responsibility. Some of these things that we are asking for, government has committed, but it has not implemented, like the accommodation. We thank it where it has tried, like Kabale has 80 housing units for the interns, but this is not the case anywhere else in the country. So we also want to focus on quality. We want also to learn and serve Ugandans. These things of extortion should stop, and they'll stop. And actually the law should take its course. Also, as while we are taking from Ugandans this token of appreciation, we should have value for money, a return on investment. We should produce the best of the work, not extort patients. Interns out there, they shouldn't extort patients. They shouldn't take advantage of a naive, gullible society. We should do our work and do it to the best of our knowledge. But lastly, you asked Ndugu Micho about the politics that you saw. Actually, that really affected the profession so much. And we saw before Ugandans such ugly scenes never to happen. There is no single reason whatsoever. We love the president. We are part of the structure. You know, Mzee calls us Vazuku. He has given us platform. He has immunized us and all those things. But it shouldn't come to a point where now people should come and affiliate with party politics using our professions. That is why you saw the doctor censoring Dr. Oledo. And right now the president of UMA is Dr. Naku Jorova. We don't want the politics in here. When the day I was arrested with Shamim Nambasa. You know, one is in NUP, one is in NRM, but we had a common cause. So it should never again come to that extent where these professions are being tagged into politics. Ugandans will misconstrue us. They'll miss the point. They'll be like, one day you're kneeling, one day you're crying. Choose a struggle. So we choose a struggle of standing for the truth and trying all of us stakeholders to ensure that at least the health sector serves Ugandans to its best, and we are all stakeholders. I beg to submit.
Yes, Ndugu Micho,
I think
the
mine
way forward.
will be very brief. He has said most of it. He has hit on the policy formulation part of it. I think Parliament has always shown us where its priority is, and its priority is on the politics. If I am sure if it was something to do with maybe saying that the president should not be voted and maybe should stay in power for life, we would be seeing the policy by now and be seeing MPs up in arms and really discussing about it. But because it is health and maybe they are not realizing the importance of it, they are not taking it as a priority.
They don't treat from our hospitals.
I thought our legislative arm would actually act and form a policy or even direct cabinet to handle this issue, and that's when we can only say that Parliament is doing good service to the citizens of Uganda. But I also think there is need for the three stakeholders to sit on table. I mean, the stakeholders is the finance ministry, health ministry, and the education ministry. They should sit down and find solutions to this. It shouldn't be always taken to the president. The I think the president has more pressing issues to handle, and this is something that his junior officers can do. Let health sit, and finance and education. Finance tells them we can handle this lot. This is the lot we can be able to fund. This is the number of interns that we can be able to pay per year.
So graduate them.
So is this number enough to cater for the health needs that are needed in these health facilities? Then health can advise and say, oh, maybe make this increment or do this, or let's improve in this sector. And then they can instruct education either to reduce the number of admitted students or to alter in the curriculum, but they find solutions to that. I think we may be saying that the problem is in numbers. Then if it is in numbers and finance cannot handle, then let the Ministry of Education take it up from there and know how many universities are offering the medical course. How many? You actually have some universities that are doing medicine and the courses expire. It is not updated in National Council of Education, but these people keep on being deployed as medical interns, but actually they are not supposed to be because the universities are not accredited. So I think there is need for these three arms, for these three ministries to sit down and find solutions. And there are other ones that can solve this. Because it is like they are not learning. Every year they want to strike. Maybe if there's someone benefiting from this from these demonstrations, actually don't call them strikes. These are just people are just demonstrating that they are not happy.
Demonstration.
This is not you've not seen any medical student root in shops. You've not seen any medical student burn tires. We have not seen any medical student beating up officers. These are just people who have been holding placards. I think this is the most civic, these are some of the civic demonstrations we've had in Uganda. There is no violence from the leaders of the demonstration. Theirs is just about listen to us. And from here to police, I don't know why it is so hard. So let these three ministries realize that there is a problem. Maybe they have not realized, actually that's where the problem is. That they do not actually recognize that the problem is there. If they had recognized that the problem is there, with the technical staffs that we have in those ministries, and the ministers in charge of that task, I doubt that they can sit and fail to have a solution. They have just not sat yet. So what we can request for, and my recommendation is that let these people that are concerned sit down and find a solution. I'm sure they will find the solution. Then they can take it up to the president and let them have clear guidelines, policies, and instruct medical interns that this is what you're supposed to do. They will not strike when there is a policy that has been signed.
Sure.
You get? And mind you, as this policy is being formulated, I request that the leadership of medical interns, they have structured leadership, right? From their president, their
site leaders and all that.
site leaders. Like how we do it in university setting, that when the university council is formulating a policy, they either form a committee of students to benchmark on the policy and then advise the university council. This is what the students I think they can do. I was saying that cabinet is making resolutions and is saying that internship should be mandatory, it shouldn't be paid, medical course should be for 6 years. But you're sitting in a cabinet that actually has like 2 doctors.
I know.
You get? And you're making such policies. I thought they would maybe form a committee of these interns, representatives. They make a benchmark and make their proposals, make their recommendations to cabinet, and then cabinet can take it up from there. So as we are going ahead with these policies, I believe they are making policies.
Yeah, true.
But I believe they are also going to make mistakes again if they actually don't involve the medical interns in these policies. I request that the medical interns and the medical association request to be added onto this team that is making these policies. Uganda should start having such things of involving the stakeholders. You have the curriculum of you see people changing the curriculum of education without even involving the student leaders at various universities to listen to what the students talking about the current curriculum. So let the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance sit down, let Parliament formulate a committee, that has student representatives, in turn, actually their own students. Because I think that's why they are not even being, that's why they are being mistreated. They are taken as students, yet they are not. These people have graduated and they have transcripts ready to work. You have them involved in the policy formulation part, and I am sure everything will be solved. Then they take it up to the president who will implement. Thank you so much.
Yes, Brendan.
Well, I think Mitchell makes a very good submission by saying that the three bodies should all sit and find a solution. One thing is for sure that we need to understand that what we are talking about here is health, and health is like the right to health is interrelated with all the other rights. He earlier on mentioned that in Parliament, most of the things that would maybe cause attention and everyone would maybe stand up and make a submission is when we hear things that concern those people's elections and something like that. You would hear everyone speak at that point, yeah. But now this is a matter that people do not actually realize is a very serious matter. There is no way you will have a peaceful election when you have bad health. There is no way you will stand and maybe teach, or there is no way you will enjoy your other rights without having good health, yeah. And what happens when interns strike? If they have something that they add on the health, sector, it means if they strike, we are losing out on that, which becomes a very, bad thing. Yeah. So I think that since it's a state's obligation to make sure that its citizens are enjoying all their rights very well, and among those is, their right to health. Yeah. And they are supposed to make sure that they provide quality, like he said. It's not just about, talking about paying interns and all that, but it goes down to the quality of, health services that are in place. Yeah. Of course, we understand that we are, in different states and we have different economic statuses. Ours, might be a bit progressive, that we are not at the same level as other maybe states. But I know for sure that government can find a solution to this. Yes. The issue is not running to the president. I mean, the president is listening to the judiciary. He's listening to, the guns that are everywhere. Now he's handling this. We have a whole health ministry. Yeah. We have policymakers. We have people striking. Let them sit on board, like Mitchell said. Let them have a conversation. Let them raise their issues. What is the problem? How do we solve the problem? If they realize that we are actually admitting many, numbers of, medical students, and we need to cut the numbers, then what is so hard with implementing that? Maybe, like he said, maybe the issue is that when they are solving or finding solutions to these problems, they do not engage the people who are actually victims. You might hear that maybe they call the minister, who is not even so much informed, because the minister is also handling a lot of, because also the health ministry is having a lot of issues to handle, not just, strikes and all that, of course, bringing on board new policies and solving other issues. So you might find that maybe these people are not even engaged, yeah? Or maybe the people that sit on board do not bring out all the issues as they affect the victims. So I feel like he said, of course, when you're because we are saying this is not a strike, this is a demonstration, yeah, and which is actually lawful, because a collective demonstration is actually lawful, yeah. So I feel like when they are finding solutions to such, demonstrations, let the victims come on board, raise all their issues, and then let the ministry sit before we even engage the president, because I feel like this is something that can be solved at the ministry level. Then where the ministry feels like, okay, now we need the president or maybe parliament to assent to this, it goes that side, yeah. But it means that even the ministry is failing. even the ministry is failing to do what it's supposed to do. Let them put in place policies, let the policies be stamped, and we see now who is failing to abide by the policies. Then maybe we start addressing that. But where there are no policies, of course, we are going to see the same things happen over and over again. Yeah, so let the three bodies sit. Let the health ministry sit. Let the victims also come on board. Yeah, and if they feel like what needs to be addressed is maybe admission numbers. By the way, I don't really think that yes, I had about the issue of, you know, cutting the number of law students being admitted to the university, but I do not personally think there should be a limit to doctors, to the number of medical students coming, or, you know, because you people, we are so many. With the increasing population in Uganda, if you start saying that we need to put a limit to this, then I think we should start saying, because why are we cutting the numbers? We are looking at finances, right? So maybe we should cut the number of MPs, because what are all those MPs doing in parliament?
Cost of
Would you want
administration.
to cut the number of people who are in essential services?
That's a good question.
And if you realize, by the way, there are doctors who are, there is a dermatologist who I visited, and the guy is, I think, 85 years, and he's so bright, like he's so intelligent. So me, when he was working, I was only looking at him saying, now this man is about to go. And if you realize, most of those, you know, good doctors are now aging, and they will soon be retiring. Yeah, so we need these more doctors to come in. At least you would cut all the other things, maybe education and all that, but health issue should not be compromised. Really.
Yes, Hilary.
Yeah, thank you. Mine will be a quick one as I conclude on this matter. And I will begin with the law, Article 29 of our Constitution of Republic of Uganda, as amended of 1995, provides for a right to association, okay, and religious grouping, gathering, assembly, and all that, whereby these associations and movements fall. It is unbecoming of a government, the whole government, to find that it is finding excuses, or it is finding it an issue to really fix this small thing of doctors, internship, and salaries and all that. This time we see the president coming in and saying, you know what, let those people do sciences. We need as many doctors as possible. He said we have 8,000. He said we need 80,000. Okay? So we have a very tiny percentage of people who have labored, went to school, studied 6 years, 5 years, come through, and they are ready to serve the nation. And the nation is finding it difficult to give them a platform, to give them means to serve them. It's really disturbing. Another issue is we are dealing with health, like she said. You never know what tomorrow is going to happen. The same person who is advocating that these guys should not be deployed, your daughter or your son or your cousin is the one going to fall sick, and they need this particular skill this internee is going to offer. You understand? So it cuts across, and you hear people moving abroad, looking for better. We have the better skills here in Uganda. We just don't have the platform for them to fix it. So it is my humble plea to the government and to the entire public that let these people at least be fixed. If a government cannot really fix doctors, 8,000 doctors, or even 10, or few as they are, if it cannot fix them more as they are needed, much as they are needed, I mean, what they give out, the need of it, the urgency of what they give, the way it is needed. If government cannot really do that, then what can it do? That's the question. Because the government, it is blamed on it because these are government servants. I have not had people in private hospitals go to street. If individuals owning these hospitals can sustainably pay their workers, and what is so hard for the government to do this? You know, we have this thing, government, everyone is dying to go in the government. Everyone wants to work in the government. Everyone wants a connection to belong to the government, to work for the government. Okay? These people who are in the government, who are working for the government on an essential and very critical point and services they are giving, like that, they are crying tears. And lastly, does it really have to take a strike for the government to act? And I mean, I think we've been shaped by the nature or the way we are doing things or the way how government responds to this. You know, we have opposition has first exert pressure, first withdraw some services, and then it can, okay, I think this is going on. Concerning the medical doctors and practitioners and internees and all that, in that field, does it really have to take a strike for them to go on the road and for the government to know, you know what, we need ABCD. Oh, I think let's have the meeting. Let's think about this. You understand? It really, it's uncalled for. We don't even have to reach that very point. The issue is very clear. The people know what they want. The government knows what they offer. Let it fix them.
As simple as that.
Yes.
Ndugumicho, let us shift gears now to the aspect of the spate of gun violence that we have been seeing in the past couple of weeks. And we don't have much time for this, but at least we have 15 minutes. So, just to begin with you, what do you make of this gun violence?
Well, it is quite absurd, and I know the topics of today are really so sad because they raise very big concerns to this nation and to the citizens and other people that stay in the country. When you're discussing health, then from health, the others who are not even interested in you going to the hospital. All they need is your life to end from where they have shot you from. I think the rise in gun violence is a very big concern that everyone should be concerned about because it leaves no one safe.
Sure.
It leaves no one safe unless if you've never collided with someone who is armed. If you've had someone and you've collided with him or her at maybe once or twice and you know you're not in good terms with that person and you know that person is armed, some of us get worried when we see armed officers taming to that extent. I think there is need still on the policies about guns should be revised, and how do these people acquire these guns and how do they use them? Then how are the criminal laboratories in Uganda, the forensic laboratories, how are they working? Because I think the succession rate on identifying the criminals that are involved in this is very low, meaning people are getting confident that you can actually shoot and get away with it. I think there is need for a more strategic plan by security to identify means of how they can really tame this, because it is really worrying, very much worrying, that a money lender can be shot for demanding his money. That I was hearing a story that the officer was from that he was having mental illnesses, really, and he's now in office suit. He's now in office wearing a uniform of police. It goes back to the senior officers of police. What is are you having mental health lessons with your officers? Are you having lessons with them? How are you teaching them on how they're supposed to handle their guns? Because I think some people have died due to mental, due to officers that are having these guns losing their temper, and you find someone just shooting a colleague. Then I think there are others who are just criminals who just kill. Maybe they have been ordered to kill or to shoot someone. I don't think we have reached that extent of disagreeing to that level. As I conclude, it is just a humble prayer to the president and the Minister of Security and all heads of security agencies that everything should be done. If there is any priority, it should be prioritized now. If there is any security priority, the gun violence should be prioritized. Everyone having a gun, owning a gun in this country should be profiled and should be monitored at least on a daily basis on their whereabouts. I think it is a very big task. It may not be daily, but the monitoring schedules or the monitoring tactics of people that are in possession of guns should increase. It may be hard, it may be tiresome, but that is what it takes to protect citizens. That is what it protects, to protect people. You cannot have an investor die like that. Which message are you sending to other investors in the country? You cannot have a citizen die just like that. What is the message you're sending to the citizens? So I believe it might be hard for the security agencies to maybe accomplish such a task, but I believe that is what it takes. Let everyone who is in possession of a gun be profiled and known. And their whereabouts should be very well known. And because I know when you release a bullet, the bullet can be traced back to the gun that was used. I am well aware. When you take it to the criminal laboratory and the forensics laboratories, they can clearly identify that this bullet was from this gun, and this gun is owned by this individual. That is if we have really utilized the task of profiling everyone owning a gun in Uganda. And someone owning a gun, there should be qualifications of why should they be having a gun. Someone who is having your background should be profiled, your health should be profiled, and what is your job, what do you do, what is your financial capacity. I think all that should be taken into context. The other thing is these bodyguards that maybe the officers that maybe work as bodyguards to these high level profile personnel, their status should also be looked into. You cannot get someone with a gun to be a bodyguard to maybe someone who is being paid every month, and you're not paying this person. You're actually posing a threat to this person he's protecting.
Well, I'm forced to put a full stop right there, but I appreciate the context. It's really very elaborate. David, Mitchell, like many Ugandans, are looking forward to the president to offer a solution, and for obvious reasons. He's the commander-in-chief. He's the, I mean, he's so many things. The president that we as citizens expect to find a solution from, instead asked Ugandans on his Twitter handle to help him answer some of these questions. So now, I don't know who should be asking who, but the president asked Ugandans to offer him a solution. And if you saw his Twitter handle, he posed 6 questions. How does this? So I don't know. Is there a security vacuum in the country?
Of course, I do not doubt the capacity of His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. He has been at the helm fighting injustices and insecurities. I think nearly half his years of age. 10-point program of the NRA, he had a strong grip on security and all that. He restored sanity.
Point number 2, yeah.
Yes. So we do not underrate the capacity of the NRA, which turned into UPDF. Now we have to ask a question. Maybe if there is laxity in the UPDF and our security as a whole, as police, I think why the president asked Wananchi such questions is he wanted to bring them up to speed that now that we have a crisis, what is our area of focus? You know, President Museveni leads this country with Wananchi, with people. He always brings down that technical knowledge to the last person in village, that as government and security, our focus is going to be on the following questions, so that people at least come up to speed and are not taken up by a lot of conspiracies. Now, there's a very big debate that this country is avoiding. It is called the minimum wage bill. You see people shooting at people. The policeman who shot the investor, the moneylender, the bodyguard that shot at Kano and killed our Kano, another man who had another assassin. I don't know if police has gotten a hold of him. You saw a video in a Ruwa pharmacy. We are crossing from criminality, just being a criminal, to the level of insecurity. Because if you see, people who are supposed to be guarding the country doing this, now it becomes an insecurity. It crosses from just mere criminals who come with an iron bar and they hit people for some token. You get, it starts worrying us that people in charge of our armory are actually getting reckless to this extent. Yesterday we were at one day rescuing people, so a police officer came and I think he was reorganizing his gun. I don't know how to operate a gun. So it made a sound like this and everyone was running away. So this is the situation. Today you cannot stand by the bank veranda, you cannot be comfortable around people holding guns. True. Because someone can shoot you anytime. This you get these days. So, but we want Parliament. It goes back to that house. We want Parliament to trigger the conversation of the minimum wage. It looks like people are frustrated. People are broke. We've had an audio yesterday on the news or in the news by the driver of the judiciary who was complaining that I am earning little 200,000. My bosses go and shop using 500 just in a blink of an eye, shaving a few things for their families. Every day I'm watching this. The guy was threatening to somehow harm them. Did you hear that audio? It was all over news yesterday. The guy leaked the audio from WhatsApp. We are dealing with a frustrated group of people. Someone shooting at an investor for the investor asking him more than this guy should be reporting, the money lender. The bodyguard saying, I'm frustrated, I've not been paid. Of course, conspiracies are going to come up, how these people are having mental illnesses. But a low socio-economic status actually contributes to the mental illnesses. You understand? So that is a conversation that we should trigger the Parliament. Whereas the president is advising that, you see, if we put a minimum wage, you are going to cause unemployment. Because today people are still having this gentleman's agreement, I can work for this little money. But a time is going to come when people are earning very little. We are dealing with inflation. What people are earning actually can only feed them. They cannot take children to school. They cannot go for, if they are going to the hospitals, they are coming to government hospitals that rarely have drugs. You understand? But they are here. You are spending 300 billion in medical tourism. You, as legislators and ministers, you have that capacity. Every year this country loses 300 billion in medical tourism. Even the legislators do not care. They don't even have their health insurance in this government hospital. So how would they care? But you're talking about a person who does not have even the capacity to feed himself enough food. You get, to clothe his family, to look after the wife. Loans are like loans. People, small property is being taken. So all this insecurity, I am going to blame two parties here. As the president, who is known to even provide security, not only within the country, but also export peace and security, it is poking a hole in our system that people can move with guns aimlessly and they start shooting at people. So security, the UPDF, the Uganda police, they have to recheck themselves and restore order. Because everything said, we believe police and security forces, other security forces, they are trained to withstand any form of pressure, any form of impatience. So if you are, if you have not been paid, do you get a gun and go and shoot at an investor? No. I believe in the laws, there is a procedure under which someone can show dissatisfaction other than merely shooting at people who have not yet paid you. So if it comes to killing, at least we cannot condone that. It will cause anxiety and fear among Ugandans. But also the Parliament of Uganda should rediscuss that minimum. At least people can earn something fair. Because you see, the minister is going to tell you, or the PSST, Ramadan Gobi will tell you that the country is not ready for we don't have that money. But in Kenya and Tanzania, whereas their economies are bigger than ours, they have a minimum wage, as we don't have. So, but when shall we have that in the country? According to IGG's report, Michala Kamia, the country loses 10 trillion merely in corruption. How about if we saved this money? Don't you think we can save this money in corruption? Cut down on the cost of product, rather on the cost of administration. Now this money, we can pull it back, and it helps us to set a certain minimum amount which is fair for all these workers in the country, so that people don't get anxious shooting at their bosses because they don't have a pay yet, or they're frustrated financially. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Brendan, as we wrap this up, I don't know, what is the legal position regarding gun control in this country?
Well, you ask a very good question. One thing is for sure that we need to understand that you don't just possess a gun in Uganda. And I think my friend Mitchell was saying that people are holding guns and maybe they are not even traced. You must have a license to hold a gun. And there are grounds that you go through to be given a gun. If you're just an ordinary person, maybe you must prove that I am being attacked by people, I am under threats, and you must prove that you don't just go and be given a gun. Every gun that moves out has a license. And even the bullets that come out of the gun can be traced back to the gun that was used. Yeah? So we should actually understand that Uganda in the region is spotlighted as one of that country with the highest gun violence cases in our East African region. The question should be, where even that, you see, this is a very critical topic that I don't even want to just talk about, because you would ask yourself where the guns are licensed and where the bullets can even be, traced. Do you think with all the expertise that we have in Uganda's security system, we have failed to trace these people? Okay, maybe you would ask yourself, it's not just ordinary people dying, but even big people in government are being shot. So you think our intelligence system is that weak that we cannot trace who the victims, or sorry, who the perpetrators are? Yeah, and three things on gun violence. One, you're either shot because you're speaking bitter truth. Secondly, you're either shot because of, income issues, like you see a bodyguard shooting a minister, or maybe a moneylender being shot by someone who they demand. I want you to have a picture of a minister, for example, with an askari at home, yeah, who does not even who has a family as well, because most of those people have families, even if you don't have biological children or what, at least you have a family back, yeah. You stay at home to guard the house and all that, and at the end of the day you expect your salary, yeah. People have mental health issues that they are fighting silent battles that they can't just speak out. By the time I get a gun and I shoot you, Moses, it means something is really hard for me. It means I've tried all my level best, but you have. Because anyway, I know there are people who are badass that I'll just come out and shoot you, but it's on rare occasions. Yeah. We all know. We've seen stories of people being shot because this one has said this. There is a famous person, I will not mention the name, who came out and said, you see, yes, there is freedom of speech, but you don't just speak. Recently, it's in the newspapers. You guys know the things. And so the question is, I don't have solutions to this. I don't have answers, because this is a very critical issue. I just have questions. Are we that, weak at security that we cannot trace? This is taking away someone's life. A person who has dependents, yeah. It's just that we have failed to believe that maybe we cannot even say government is reluctant on this. We cannot say we have loopholes in the security system, or we don't have enough that it takes to maybe trace these people. I think it's a question of who is behind this. Why is this happening? Can't this be solved? Are we that weak in security systems that we cannot, trace these people and subject them to punishment? That's all I have.
Those are good questions. And I think, Council,
Yeah.
can you just try to paint a picture in response to those questions?
Thank you so much. I will attempt to answer a few of her questions and perhaps also give my view of the current situation. When we talk about really gun killings and all that, Uganda has been known and praised, in specifically this government, to be, to have achieved security at least. It is known, it is one good thing that could appear number one on the paper if you were to say, what has this government done? Security. And it is ranked, it has ranks, UPDF, Police Act, and all that. We hear of things happening in our neighboring countries, Sudan. We hear things happening, wars happening in Congo, and Uganda, we appear to be in a safer place. But actually, the war in Uganda is the war of nerves. We are not on the streets when it comes to security. We are not on the streets with guns, with pangas and all that. But the war is happening in people's hearts, is going on, boiling up, heating up, and people are getting tired. Specifically, when you look at this area of police have got the very many laws to guide them. We have Police Act, we have UPDF Act, we have Firearms Controls Act, we have all the law to do with that. Okay? But look at these police officers. It's welfare, the environment created around their workplace defines why this is happening. Their wages, their welfare, and then what is the government doing? Is there any hope of them coming out of this? Police officers are the people we report to, are the people we run to, but they don't have anywhere to report. When they are going through all these, you can't have a police officer go on social media and air out stuff like that. You understand? They know a lot, they go through a lot of injustice, and I think it's a group of people whose rights have been immensely violated, and they are not allowed to actually talk about it because they are police officers. They have to keep quiet, they have to deal with it in one or the other, and government has taken credit in that silence, but things continuously go on. Now, as I come to a close of this, of course, we can't say we condone the killings and all that. The problem is still, I blame it to the government. I don't know whether I'm being so much of against the government, but I am actually not against the government. But I think government has the responsibility or can do anything to provide an answer to this or to push away a different picture on what is happening. How? Look at these police officers. Look at how much they are earning. Look at how much they are being treated. Look at their housing facilities, how they live, their nature of life, and how they operate. And also look at how much they contribute to the country. In relation to what they give, it does not make sense. I think these are the first things government should deal with. First priorities: health sector, security. Now Uganda has become insecure. It is going to be unfortunate that the once praised nation of having security, going abroad, sending help abroad, it is now the one in this. And if you don't fix this, we are headed for Jambians. People are going to come out of their houses with pangas and start cutting, seeing people on the streets. And you see the real war, like those days of World War and all that. And you see the real war in Uganda. But I still say that the government, you still have the power to do this. The president asks, what can we do? You fix the way of life these police officers are living. It's about the workplace environment. It's about the wages. And I am not condoning this because government is bad or the government has not or has erred in its service delivery to police officers. It does not in any way guarantee these police officers to act recklessly the way they would really want. They also owe a responsibility to the citizens of Uganda. They also have their different ways. And lastly on this, maybe this is also goes to the government. And, you know, government works where the reason that's why you have opposition and all that. When someone raises an issue that government is not doing this, talked about speaking bitter truth. It should be able to be an advantage to the government to listen to these people complaining so that they can get a better solution. But instead of doing that, they actually go seek to silence these people. And that's bad.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. David, Right Honorable Micho, Council Brendan, and Council Hillary, thank you for making the time to be on this week's episode of the Youth Roundtable. Well, you've had it all. But what I know is that somewhere, somehow, there is someone who is not doing their job. There's someone at the Ministry of Health, someone in the Ministry of Security, someone in the Ministry of Finance, someone among the citizens' population who is not doing what they're supposed to do. So, if we can remember the words of the late Reverend Desmond Tutu, who said that in whatever you do, just do right. Eventually, this right will overwhelm the world. Well, see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.